For weeks now, we've been faced with so much uncertainty coming from President Trump. Each day brings new tariff threats. Now, President Trump is threatening tariffs on steel and aluminum.
Group, which is a group based in Michigan that regularly does these sort of economic impact studies. Roughly $4,000 for a crossover SUV, and the incremental cost to build that.
Canada just hit America where it hurts most, right in the wallet. Doug Ford's new 25% surcharge on electricity exports means your monthly bills could jump by $100, all because Trump couldn't play nice with our neighbors up north. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is watching his Starlink contracts with Canada get torn up faster than Trump's McDonald's wrappers. Who knew Canada could be this petty? Turns out our polite neighbors have been taking notes from Trump's own playbook of economic warfare. Ever wonder what happens when Canada stops being polite and starts getting real?
He's pointing his finger at dairy and lumber, shifting timelines, different excuses, chaos and confusion. It's hurting workers, it's hurting businesses, it's hurting investments, and it's hurting families.
How much is a car going to cost in the United States after these tariffs have been pushed through? How much more is a car going to cost?
The estimates here are a little bit all over the place, but just yesterday, our Keith Naughton in the Detroit Bureau reported on a recent study done by Anderson Economic.
Doug Ford just showed us, and your electric bill is about to get the memo. The Premier of Ontario has unleashed what might be the most Canadian revenge plot ever, slapping a hefty 25% surcharge on electricity flowing across the border. That's right, Ford is turning America's light switch into a financial panic button, and the timing couldn't be worse for folks already watching their pennies. This isn't just some minor diplomatic tiff that'll blow over with an apology and a handshake.
On both sides of the border, it needs to end. That's why I've been crystal clear. Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent. A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until then, Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage.
We're talking about 1.5 million American households in states like Michigan and New York suddenly getting walloped with power bills that could jump by $100 a month. Imagine explaining to grandma in Detroit that she needs to choose between keeping her lights on or filling her prescriptions because Orange Man decided to flex on our neighbors to the north. What's really fascinating is how Doug Ford is borrowing straight from the Trump playbook. He's hitting Americans where it hurts, right in the utility bills, while wrapping it all up in the flag of protecting Canadian interests. Sound familiar? It should, because it's exactly what Trump does, except with more tweets and less maple syrup. Ford didn't mince words either. In a statement that was about as subtle as a hockey fight, he declared, "Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent." Translation for those who don't speak Canadian tough talk: play nice or freeze in the dark, eh? But here's where it gets even more interesting. This electricity surcharge is just the opening act. Ford has hinted at going after American wine, food, and even cars with additional tariffs. Picture your grocery bill climbing alongside your power costs while your new car suddenly costs $5,000 more. That's not just economic pressure, that's a full-on Canadian squeeze play.
A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until last-minute exemptions, it won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all. We need to sit down, work together, and land a fair deal. Then Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports.
The states bearing the brunt of Canada's newfound backbone are those most dependent on Canadian electricity. Michigan and New York are particularly vulnerable, with millions of households now caught in this cross-border power struggle. These regions could face not just higher costs, but potentially unreliable service if tensions continue to escalate. Those electricity tariffs might seem rough, but they're just the appetizer in Canada's economic revenge buffet. Would you believe Elon Musk, the guy who's worth billions and sends rockets to space, is now watching helplessly as his Tesla empire gets kneecapped by a Canadian province most Americans couldn't even locate on a map? Ontario just ripped up a $100 million Starlink contract that would have brought internet to remote communities, and they didn't even try to hide why. Doug Ford basically said, "Hey Elon, we see you cuddling up to Trump and we don't like it." Turns out studying in Canada doesn't buy you immunity when you start cheerleading for policies that hurt your alma mater. But losing a satellite contract is just the beginning of Musk's Canadian nightmare. Tesla's stock has taken a nosedive.
Charge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month.
Dropping a whopping 45% in recent months. Sales have completely tanked, down 50% in China and 29% in Europe. All those fancy Teslas sitting unsold in lots while Elon posts weird memes and endorses tariffs that are destroying his own business. Here's where things get really dicey for America's favorite Twitter-obsessed billionaire. Ontario controls almost half the nickel that Tesla needs for its batteries. And Doug Ford, who's clearly learned a thing or two from Trump's playbook, is now hinting he might just turn off that nickel spigot. Can you imagine? Tesla without batteries is basically just an expensive collection of doors that may or may not open properly. Meanwhile, Tesla owners are jumping ship faster than rats from a sinking SpaceX rocket. Customer loyalty in blue states has dropped from 72% to 65%, and a third of American car buyers now say they wouldn't touch a Tesla with a 10-foot charging cable. Turns out having your CEO constantly posting right-wing talking points isn't great for brand loyalty in progressive states. Who knew? The real kicker: Tesla prices are going through the roof. We're talking $5,000 to $10,000 price hikes because of rising production costs. Regular folks who were finally thinking about going electric are looking at those sticker prices and saying, maybe I'll just keep my gas guzzler another year. The irony here is just too perfect. Musk cozied up to Trump hoping for special treatment and ended up alienating an entire country that controls his supply chain. Now both his satellite internet business and his electric car company are getting hammered from the north. Turns out even the world's richest man isn't immune to Canada's newfound backbone. So here we are, folks. Economic warfare with our polite northern neighbors. And guess who's holding the empty wallet? That's right, you are. If this little Canada-Trump tiff keeps escalating, analysts predict oil prices could shoot up by 10 to 20%. That's not just numbers on a chart. That's your gas budget exploding faster than Trump's temper at a fact-checking convention. The experts aren't mincing words either. Unless somebody steps in soon with actual diplomacy instead of Twitter tantrums, we're heading straight for economic disaster. And let's be crystal clear about who's paying for Trump's big boy tariff games. It's not Canada, it's not corporations, it's regular Americans choosing between filling the tank and filling the fridge. Remember when Trump promised to make America great again? Well, congratulations. Your purchasing power is now greatly diminished thanks to Donnie's brilliant negotiating skills. Maybe next time we should elect someone who understands that trade wars are neither easy nor winnable. They're just expensive for everyone except the politicians starting them.